Today they upload. This thing never used to be named.
Yeah.
Why is it here today?
It's funny.
I'm seeing it for the first time. Oh, Commissioner, it's you guys. What are guys?
What's something new?
They brought something new to the press conference, yes. Yeah. Okay. Can I start here? No, don't worry. Can leave it. My colleague, the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Njabulo Nzuza, Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Dr. Mike Masiapata, and your team, the Director General of the Department of Home Affairs, Mr. Tommy Makode, and your team, Ms. Gillian Wilson from the National Treasury, our Transaction Advisor team, led by Mr. Tabantladi from the Presidency's Infrastructure South Africa, Mr. Jean Ravele from SARS, Mr. Tshipiso Moedi from Tsipiri, from Moedi, from the Development Bank of Southern Africa Infrastructure Fund, Mr. Wandizile Madlana from Bowman Gilfillan, our legal team, Mr. Neil Grobler from Ernst & Young, our auditors, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And thank you very much for honoring us with your presence on this very important day as we take another step towards the advancement of our border management. We are incrementally managing our borders as a country. As you know, in July 2022, we launched the border guards of the Border Management Authority. We are here today to add another layer in the country's efforts to make our borders safer, less porous, and more importantly, very efficient in facilitating and easing of trade, as well as the legitimate movement of people. When I delivered my budget speech in May this year, on the 17th, I announced my gratitude at the approval granted by the Finance Minister, Mr. Enoch Godongwana, for the Department of Home Affairs and the Border Management Authority to issue requests for proposals to the market for the redesigning and redevelopment of our top 6 busiest land port of entry. If there is one thing you need to take away from this briefing as the media, it is that the South African government is committed to put the latest infrastructure and relevant technology in its effort to modernize and upgrade our ports to be on par with the current global best practices on border management. To this end, the main objective is to make it easier for law-abiding people and companies to easily enter and exit South Africa through our borders, while the illicit movement of persons and goods is nipped in the bud, and pun is intended. It has taken a while for us to get to this point, but I would like to commend my team consisting of officials from the Border Management Authority, the Department of Home Affairs, the Presidency Infrastructure South Africa, National Treasury, South African Revenue Services, The Development Bank of South Africa's Infrastructure Fund and transactional advisors Bowmans, Gilfillan, and Ernst & Young for their hard work in getting us to this point. And that's why we have called you to brief you. In fact, South Africa's ports of entry were designed during the apartheid era with the primary objective of tightening security whilst neglecting the effective facilitation of regional and international trade. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not an over-exaggeration to state that when you visit our land ports of entry between us, South Africa, and our SADC neighbors, the South African side of the border looks like an informal settlement, while the other side looks like Sandton. It's not an exaggeration. Those who have been at our borders will attest to this. Since the advent of democracy, there's been an exponential increase in the number of people moving between South Africa and the countries in the region. The volumes of regional and international trade has similarly increased. As a result, our land ports of entry are very congested, and that continues to stifle trade instead of enabling it. If you understand what I'm talking about, just take a visit to Lebombo border post between South Africa and Mozambique, where you will see trucks lining up for kilometers, bumper to bumper, for hours on end on the N4 corridor. This is because mining companies in Northwest, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga took a decision to use Maputo port for their exports and no longer Richards Bay Harbor. Given our current narrow design of the port, this has led to congestion. The announcement we are making today will make sure that what is happening now will become history. I wish to remind you that South Africa has 72 ports of entry, of which 53 are land ports of entry, 11 are international airports, and 8 are seaports, all of which are now operated by the Border Management Authority, led by Dr. Masiapat. Of the 53 land ports of entry, we have now earmarked 6 of our largest and busiest by traffic volume for redevelopment in order to address the congestion. The outcome of the redevelopment of these ports of entry will be used as a blueprint in the long term for all other South Africa's land ports of entry. The primary intention is to ensure the realization of regional economic integration in the SADC region, while facilitating the realization of African Continental Free Trade Area. The 6 earmarked ports of entry are: 1, Beit Bridge between South Africa and Zimbabwe; 2, Lebombo between Mozambique and South Africa; 3, Maseru Bridge between Lesotho and South Africa; 4, Fixback between Lesotho and South Africa; 5, Kopfontein between South Africa and Botswana; and 6, Oshoek between South Africa and Eswatini. The redevelopment of the ports will result in: 1, the efficient cross-border management of movement of people, goods, and services; 2, the improved administration of persons entering and leaving the Republic; 3, better regional economic integration; and enhance support for the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. 4. Improved revenue collection and addressing leakages caused by the illegal movement of goods and illicit financial flows. 5. Protecting local industry from harmful imports and exports. And 6. Effective migration management, including capping illegal migration. The 6 ports of entry project will cover the full infrastructure development of each designated port of entry and the provision of required services to ensure a coherent and coordinated support of the institutional functions of all organs of state present in the port of entry, in order to ensure that the ongoing operations at each of the designated ports of entry are not interrupted. Construction will be undertaken in phases. During the construction, the project is expected to create in the order of 38,000 jobs in areas around the 6 designated ports of entry. The project is being undertaken on a public-private partnership, a PPP. The procurement process is therefore subject to the procedures set out in Treasury Regulation 16 for initiating, procuring, and concluding PPP projects. Treasury Regulation 16 specifically requests that a PPP project must be demonstrably affordable, result in value for money for government, and substantial technical, operation, and financial risks are transferred to the private sector contracting party. 4 national treasury approvals are prescribed by Treasury Regulation 16, 2 of which have so far been obtained by the project, allowing the Department of Home Affairs and the Border Management Authority to publish the request for proposals. The request for proposals, or commonly known as RFPs, for the 6 ports of entry projects were issued on Sunday, the 3rd of September 2023, that is 3 days ago, inviting interested parties to participate. The RFP is on the e-tender portal and other government websites, including the Department of Home Affairs website. The adverts were also placed in Sunday newspapers, as I said, on the 3rd of September 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, the call for requests for proposals is essentially looking for a partnership between the state and the private sector to inject cutting-edge infrastructure and technology in our ports. On the 5th of December 2020, the country saw a truck arriving at Lebombo border post between us and Mozambique, full of brooms to the brim, purporting to be transporting those brooms to Mozambique. When the brooms were removed as part of the inspection process, a brand new Ford Ranger was discovered on the bed of the truck. On further investigation, it was uncovered that the car was stolen in Sandton on the 30th of November 2020. This type of incidents may keep on happening on a regular basis because our method of managing movement of trucks through our borders is via sampling whereby trucks are selected on the basis of a risk profile. This means that some trucks carrying illicit goods such as cigarettes, liquor, or even trafficked people can escape undetected. In our request for proposals, we are expecting the prospective partner company to come install latest technology such as gamma rays scanners, such that each truck can drive through them. Gamma ray technology can pick up anything from illicit cigarettes to liquor to paper money and human beings. Some ports in other jurisdictions are still using X-ray technology, which we regard as outdated. So, ladies and gentlemen, officials will unpack the request for proposals to bidders on the 27th of September 2020, followed by visits to the identified ports of entry. For now, I wish to end by inviting our private sector partners and government partners and partners in the parastatals for each of them to outline their role in this project. And I'm sure they've been introduced to you. There won't be any damage in them introducing themselves again and telling you exactly what they are here for and what is that which they are going to do in the project. Let's start at the end there. I think you must come here to complete the job. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Nel Grobbelaar. I'm an associate partner in Ernst & Young, Johannesburg, South Africa, leading the transaction advisory team. From a PPP perspective, indeed encouraged by the progress, also echoing the words of the Minister this morning that we are inviting the private sector to participate. We've adopted an interface that we encourage interactions with the private sector. The procurement platform is activated. We've already seen activity in that platform, and really on behalf of the transaction advisory team, also mentioning Knight Peacehold and Bowman Gilfillan, all the success for the procurement phase of this project leading into financial year 2024. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Jim. Oh, you mean this one? Good morning. I didn't realize I was tall until at this point. My name is Jean Ravele. I'm from the South African Revenue Service. Our role in the project is that we are one of the two main stakeholders at these borders together with the BMA, and we are responsible for facilitating trade and movement of cargo across the borders. So that's why I'm here and part of this team. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Mike Masia Pato, the Commissioner for the Border Management Authority. So our role is to receive when they have done the work. So effectively what that means is as the PPP partner, would effectively come to the ground and do the redesigning, the redevelopment. We had to give the specifications of our requirements as the Border Management Authority, and of course together with the other colleagues like the Revenue Authority or Services, as Jean had indicated. And of course we are then to be using the infrastructure ourselves once it is actually developed, and to that extent we should then be able to make sure that we facilitate better the movement of persons and goods in and out of the Republic. Thanks.
I am shorter, so I'll pull down the mic. I am Wandisile Mandlana, a partner at Bowman Gilfillan, part of the transaction advisor. I am in particular focused in public law, but we've got other team of lawyers who are project finance lawyers. Thereby then our role in this overall project is to ensure that the project is bankable from a legal perspective and does deliver value for money to the country, and then it's procured in a manner that is transparent, competitive, cost efficient, fair and equitable. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Gillian Wilson from the National Treasury. Our task is basically to take the project through the different phases of PFMA approval and to ensure the project comply to the different regulations in the PFMA, and also to assist the department in develop a appropriate payment mechanism for the project. Thank you.
Yes,
good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chipiri Moedi, and I'm representing the Development Bank of Southern Africa, as well as DBSA, as well as the Infrastructure Fund. I think we've played multiple roles in the project. One of the initial roles that we played was to provide project preparation funding for the project to get it to where you see it being presented to the media today. We're also supporting the project sponsor DHA and BMA in terms of project management. We're also assisted them in getting the RFP approved from a financing perspective for PPP. And additionally, we'll also look at ensuring that the project essentially is bankable from a financing perspective. And if there is any refinancing required, we'll also be assisting the sponsors from that perspective. Thank you so much.
infrastructure.